Undercover black boss buys sandwich from his drive-thru. Few moments later, he learns shocking truth. The morning rain drummed against the windshield of the beat-up Honda Civic as Alex Carter adjusted the baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He stared at his reflection in the rearview mirror, barely recognizing himself. Gone was the expensive suit, the gleaming watch, and the confident posture that usually announced his presence in any room. Instead, he wore a faded denim jacket, worn jeans, and scuffed sneakers he'd bought from a thrift store the night before. Alex Carter wasn't just any businessman. He was the CEO and founder of Carter's Quick Bite, a fast food empire with over 200 locations across the state. At 38, he had built his company from a single food truck into a multi-million-dollar operation. But lately, something had been gnawing at him. Despite all the success, despite the glowing quarterly reports, he felt disconnected from the very people who made his empire possible. Time to see what really happens when the boss isn't watching, he muttered to himself, starting the engine. The location he'd chosen was one of his busiest, the Carter's Quick Bite on Maple Street, nestled between a gas station and a strip mall. It served over 1,000 customers daily, and Alex had never set foot inside it. He'd always relied on district managers and corporate reports to tell him how things were running. Today, that would change. As he pulled into the drive-thru lane, Alex's heart pounded with nervous excitement. The speaker crackled to life, and a young voice greeted him with surprising enthusiasm. "Good morning! Welcome to Carter's Quick Bite, where every meal is made with care. How can I make your day better?" Alex was taken aback. In all his corporate meetings, he never heard such genuine warmth in a greeting. Most employees sounded robotic, going through the motions. This was different. I'll take a classic Carter burger, medium fries, and a Coke," Alex said, trying to sound casual. "Excellent choice. The classic Carter is our founder's original recipe, still the best burger in town if you asked me. That'll be $8.47. Please drive up to the window." As Alex moved forward in line, he couldn't help but smile. The enthusiasm was infectious. When he reached the pickup window, he was greeted by a young black man who looked to be in his early 20s. His name tag read, "Marcus," and his smile was as genuine as his voice had been over the speaker. "Here you go, sir. One classic Carter combo," Marcus said, handing over the bag. "I threw in some extra sauce packets. Most people love our special Carter sauce." "Thanks," Alex replied, genuinely impressed by the attention to detail. "You seem to really enjoy working here." Marcus's eyes lit up. "I do. I mean, it's not just about the job, you know? I like making people's day a little brighter. Plus, I've been studying the whole operation. It's actually pretty fascinating how everything works together." Before Alex could respond, a gust of wind blew a crumpled receipt from the counter. It fluttered past Marcus, who caught it with lightning-fast reflexes. As he smoothed it out, Alex noticed something printed on the back, what looked like a complex mathematical puzzle, the kind you might find in an advanced engineering textbook. "Oh, this is from earlier," Marcus said, noticing Alex's curious stare. "Sometimes during slow periods, I work on these puzzles to keep my mind sharp." Alex watched in amazement as Marcus glanced at the puzzle for just a few seconds, then grabbed a pen and quickly filled in a series of numbers and symbols. The entire process took less than 30 seconds. "There," Marcus said with satisfaction. "Fibonacci sequence integrated with prime number theory. These logic puzzles help me think differently about problem solving." Alex's jaw nearly dropped. He had a master's degree in business from Stanford, and he barely understood what Marcus had just said, let alone could solve it that quickly. What was someone with this level of intelligence doing working at a drive-thru window? "That's impressive," Alex managed to say. "Where did you learn to do that?" Marcus's expression became slightly guarded, but still friendly. "Oh, I'm self-taught mostly. I spend a lot of time at the library when I'm not working. There's so much to learn, you know?" A car honked behind Alex, reminding him that he was holding up the line. "I should go," he said reluctantly. "But thanks for the great service, Marcus. Come back anytime. And hey, if you ever want to talk about puzzles or, well, anything really, I'm usually here most days. As Alex drove away, his mind raced. In less than 5 minutes, he'd encountered an employee who displayed more genuine customer service skills, intellectual curiosity, and raw intelligence than most of his corporate executives. Yet here was Marcus, working for minimum wage at a drive-through window. Alex parked in the lot across the street and sat in his car, eating the burger absently while watching the steady stream of customers flowing through the drive-through. Each car was greeted with the same enthusiasm Marcus had shown him. Through the window, Alex could see Marcus moving with efficient precision, never appearing rushed despite the constant line of customers. What bothered Alex most wasn't just Marcus's obvious overqualification for his position, it was his own ignorance about it. How many other talented people were working in his restaurants, their potential completely unknown to him? How many Marcuses were out there, solving complex puzzles on their breaks while serving burgers to pay the bills? The burger, he had to admit, was excellent. But it tasted bitter in his mouth as he realized how little he actually knew about the people who worked for him. His quarterly reports showed profit margins and customer satisfaction scores, but they didn't show him the human faces behind those numbers. They didn't show him young men like Marcus, brilliant minds trapped in jobs that barely utilized a fraction of their capabilities. Alex made a decision that would change everything. He was coming back tomorrow. And the day after that. He was going to get to know Marcus, really get to know him. More importantly, he was going to find out why someone with such obvious intelligence was working at his drive-thru instead of pursuing opportunities that matched his abilities. As he drove home to his mansion in the hills, Alex couldn't shake the image of Marcus quickly solving that complex puzzle. Something was wrong with this picture, and he was determined to figure out what it was. Little did he know that what he would discover in the coming days would not only change Marcus's life forever, it would fundamentally transform how Alex saw his own company and his role as a leader. The rain had stopped, but Alex felt like a storm was just beginning. 3 days later, Alex found himself back in the drive-thru line, this time wearing a different disguise, a construction worker's outfit complete with a hard hat and work boots. He felt slightly ridiculous, but his curiosity about Marcus had become an obsession. "Well, if it isn't my puzzle-loving customer!" Marcus greeted him with genuine excitement. "Back for another classic, Carter? Actually, let me try something different today," Alex said, impressed that Marcus remembered him from just one previous visit. "Great choice. How about our new spicy Southwest? It's got this amazing chipotle sauce that really brings out the flavor." As Marcus spoke, Alex noticed him quickly jotting down numbers on a piece of paper between taking orders. "What are you working on there?" Alex asked. Marcus held up the paper with a grin. "Oh, just calculating the optimal time intervals between orders to minimize customer wait time while maximizing kitchen efficiency. I've been tracking patterns for a few weeks now." Alex's eyes widened. Marcus was essentially doing operational research, the kind of analysis that companies paid consultants thousands of dollars to perform. "And what did you find?" "Well, if we adjust the prep time for popular items by about 15 seconds and stagger the cooking cycles differently, we could reduce average wait time by nearly 2 minutes without adding any extra staff." Marcus handed Alex his order. "I wrote up a whole report, but I'm not sure who to give it to." Before Alex could respond, he heard commotion from inside the restaurant. Through the window, he could see a young employee looking frustrated near the register. "Hold on 1 second," Marcus said to Alex, then called out to his coworker. "Hey Sarah, you stuck on that inventory calculation again?" The girl nodded, looking embarrassed. "I can't figure out how to balance these numbers. The system keeps giving me error messages." Marcus quickly walked over to her station. Alex watched, fascinated, as Marcus examined the computer screen for just a moment before beginning to explain. "See, the problem isn't with your math, it's with the system's logic flow," Marcus said patiently. "The inventory management software is trying to reconcile yesterday's closing numbers with today's opening stock, but it can't account for the delivery that came in at midnight. You need to create a bridge entry that tells the system about the time gap." Sarah's face lit up with understanding. Oh. So I'm not crazy. The computer really was missing information. Exactly. The software assumes continuous operation, but restaurants don't work that way. Here, let me show you the workaround. Marcus guided her through a series of steps that involved what looked like advanced database manipulation. Alex sat in his car stunned. He was watching a drive-thru employee troubleshoot complex software issues and explain advanced logical concepts with the patience and clarity of a college professor. This wasn't just intelligence. This was exceptional teaching ability combined with deep technical understanding. Over the next week, Alex returned 4 more times, each visit revealing new layers to Marcus's capabilities. He watched Marcus help the kitchen staff optimize their cooking sequences using principles that sounded like industrial engineering. He saw him calm down an angry customer by breaking down the complaint into logical components and addressing each one systematically. Most remarkably, he witnessed Marcus explain to a confused new employee how the restaurant's profit margins worked, using concepts from economics that Alex had learned in graduate school. You know, Marcus said during Alex's 5th visit, I've been thinking about this place a lot lately. There are so many inefficiencies that could be fixed with just small changes. Like, the way we handle rush hour could be completely redesigned using queuing theory. Queuing theory? Alex repeated, barely believing what he was hearing. Yeah, it's this mathematical approach to understanding waiting lines and service systems. I've been reading about it online. Marcus leaned closer to the window, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. The fascinating thing is how small adjustments can create huge improvements in customer experience without increasing costs. As Alex drove away that day, a heavy weight settled in his stomach. Here was someone who could probably run circles around his district managers, maybe even some of his corporate executives. Marcus was solving complex operational problems for fun, teaching advanced concepts to his coworkers, and displaying the kind of analytical thinking that companies desperately needed. Yet he was stuck at a drive-thru window, making minimum wage. The guilt was overwhelming. How long had Marcus been working here, watching inefficiencies he could fix, seeing problems he could solve, but with no way to voice his ideas to anyone who mattered? How many brilliant insights had been lost because no one in corporate had bothered to actually listen to the people on the front lines? Alex realized he wasn't just observing an exceptional employee, he was witnessing a massive waste of human potential. And somehow, his company was responsible for it. On a quiet Tuesday afternoon, Alex arrived at the drive-thru during the lull between lunch and dinner rush. For the first time in over a week, there were no cars behind him, giving him the perfect opportunity for a longer conversation. Hey there, my regular customer. Marcus beamed. You know, I never got your name. I'm Marcus, but you probably already know that from my name tag. I'm Mike, Alex said, using the alias he'd prepared. Mike Johnson. And I have to ask, what's someone like you doing working here? I mean, no offense to the job, but you seem like you could be doing something bigger. Marcus's expression grew thoughtful, a mix of hope and resignation crossing his face. That's actually a really good question, Mike. Can I be honest with you? Of course. Marcus glanced around to make sure his manager wasn't nearby, then leaned closer to the window. I'm trying to save money for college. I want to study computer science at Stanford or MIT, somewhere that has a top-tier program in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Alex's heart skipped a beat. Stanford, his own alma mater. That's amazing. Have you applied? 3 times, Marcus said with a bitter laugh. I got accepted to Stanford twice and MIT once. Full academic scholarships to all 3 schools. Alex felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Wait, you got full scholarships and you're still here? Marcus nodded, his enthusiasm dimming. The scholarships cover tuition, but they don't cover living expenses, books, lab fees, or the 100 other costs that come with college. We're talking about another $15,000 to $20,000 per year. I've been working here for 3 years, picking up every extra shift I can, trying to save up enough. 3 years? Alex repeated, horrified. You've been working here for 3 years with full academic scholarships waiting for you? Yep. I work 60 hours a week when they'll let me, sometimes pulling double shifts on weekends. I live with my grandmother and give her most of my paycheck for rent and groceries, so saving is slow. Marcus's voice carried a weight that seemed too heavy for someone so young. Alex felt sick. Haven't you looked into student loans? Oh, I have. But my grandmother co-signed some loans for my cousin years ago, and he defaulted. Her credit is shot, and I don't have anyone else who could co-sign. The banks won't give me enough on my own. Marcus shrugged, trying to appear casual, but Alex could see the pain behind his eyes. What about? I don't know, company education programs? Don't a lot of employers help with school? Marcus's laugh was hollow. That's the crazy part, Mike. Carter's Quick Bite actually advertises an education assistance program. It's on all the recruitment materials, on the company website, even on posters in the break room. Alex's stomach dropped. You applied? Multiple times. The first year I worked here, I filled out all the paperwork, wrote essays about my goals, got letters of recommendation from my managers. Everything they asked for. Marcus's voice grew frustrated. They rejected me because I hadn't been employed for a full calendar year. So I waited, reapplied the next year. And? Rejected again. This time they said my requested field of study wasn't directly related to current business operations. Apparently, computer science doesn't count, even though every single system in this restaurant runs on computers. Alex felt rage building in his chest. What about the third time? Oh, that was my favorite, Marcus said sarcastically. They rejected me because my GPA from high school wasn't high enough. Mind you, I graduated valedictorian with a 4.0, but apparently since I took some community college courses while working here, they wanted to see my cumulative GPA including those courses. I got 1B+ in a chemistry lab because I had to miss several sessions due to work schedules they wouldn't let me change. That's insane, Alex said and meant it. The worst part? Marcus continued, his composure finally cracking. I know for a fact that Jennifer, the assistant manager's daughter, got approved for the education program to study hospitality management at a school that costs twice as much as my computer science program would. She works here part-time during summers, has never shown any particular aptitude for the work, and somehow her field of study is relevant to business operations. Alex was speechless. His own company, the company he built on principles of hard work and merit, was systematically denying opportunities to its most talented employee while giving them to connected individuals. But you know what, Mike? Marcus said, his determination returning. I'm not giving up. I defer my admission every year, and every year they let me. Stanford told me they've never had a student defer 3 times, but they're willing to hold my spot because my application was so strong. I'm going to make it happen somehow. As Alex drove away that day, his hands shook with fury and shame. That evening, Alex sat in his home office, staring at his computer screen with growing horror. What he'd initially planned as a quick review of the company's education assistance program had turned into a deep dive into a bureaucratic nightmare that made his blood boil. The employee education portal looked impressive on the surface. Glossy photos of smiling workers in graduation caps, testimonials from successful program graduates, and bold promises about investing in our team's future. But as Alex dug deeper into the actual policy documents, a different picture emerged. The requirements were staggering. Employees needed to maintain a 3.8 GPA or higher, work a minimum of 35 hours per week while attending school, agree to stay with the company for 3 years after graduation, and pursue only pre-approved fields of study that directly benefited company operations. The approved list was absurdly narrow: business management, hospitality, food service administration, and basic accounting. Computer science, engineering, medicine, law, education, and dozens of other fields were explicitly excluded. What the hell was I thinking when I approved this? Alex muttered, remembering the committee meeting years ago where these policies had been presented as fiscally responsible investment in human capital. But the requirements were just the beginning. Alex pulled up the application review process and felt sick. Every application went through 4 different departments: HR, Finance, Operations, and a mysterious Educational Advisory Board that Alex couldn't even remember forming. Each department could reject applications for different reasons, and there was no appeals process. He pulled up the database of applications from the past 3 years. Out of 847 applications submitted across all locations, only 23 had been approved. The rejection reasons were mind-boggling. Employee requested field of study not directly applicable to food service industry. Applicant's work schedule conflicts with proposed class times, indicating lack of commitment to current position. GPA requirement not met due to inclusion of non-relevant coursework. Application submitted 2 days after deadline due to employee claiming family emergency. Alex scrolled through rejection after rejection, each one more infuriating than the last. A single mother denied because her child's illness caused her to miss work during the application period. A veteran denied because his military training credits weren't considered relevant educational experience. A young man who wanted to study physical therapy denied because healthcare is not a core business competency. Then Alex found Marcus's applications. All 3 were there, each one more detailed and impressive than the last. Marcus's essays were articulate and passionate, explaining exactly how his computer science education would help him contribute to the company's technological advancement. His letters of recommendation from managers glowed with praise for his work ethic, intelligence, and leadership abilities. The rejection letters were form responses, cold and bureaucratic. Alex noticed that Marcus's first application had actually been reviewed favorably by HR and Operations, but the Educational Advisory Board had vetoed it with a single line: computer science not aligned with core business objectives. Curious about this board, Alex dug into the corporate directory. The Educational Advisory Board consisted of 3 people: Harold Morrison from Finance, who was known for cutting every possible expense; Janet Walsh from Legal, who approached every decision as a potential lawsuit; and incredibly, Alex's own assistant, Patricia, who had been given the role apparently without his knowledge or input. Alex called Patricia immediately. "Patricia, I need you to explain something to me. Since when are you on the Educational Advisory Board?" "Oh, that. Mr. Morrison asked me to sit in on those meetings about 2 years ago. He said you were too busy to handle the education program oversight yourself, so he needed someone to represent your interests. And what exactly have you been doing in these meetings?" Patricia's voice grew uncertain. "Well, mostly I just follow Mr. Morrison's lead. He's very good with numbers, and he explained that we need to be careful about investing in employees who might leave after graduation. The board usually just rejects applications unless they're absolutely certain the employee will stay and the education will directly benefit the company. Have you approved any applications?" "Oh yes. We approved that nice Jennifer Walsh. She's Janet's niece, you know. And the Morrison boy when he wanted to study restaurant management. A few others whose families work for the company." Alex hung up the phone in disgust. The Educational Advisory Board wasn't evaluating merit, it was a nepotism committee, approving applications from connected employees while systematically rejecting talented workers like Marcus. He pulled up the company's public website and marketing materials. There it was, prominently featured on the careers page. "Carter's Quick Bite is committed to the professional development of our team members. Through our comprehensive education assistance program, we help ambitious employees achieve their dreams while building valuable skills for our organization." The testimonials were from the connected employees who'd been approved, Jennifer Walsh talking about how the company believed in her potential, the Morrison boy praising the incredible support for employee growth. Meanwhile, Marcus, who had the highest manager evaluations of any employee in the system, who had revolutionized efficiency at his location, who had been accepted to Stanford with full academic scholarships, had been rejected 3 times by a committee that included the boss's assistant and 2 executives who saw education as an expense rather than an investment. Alex felt betrayed by his own organization. Somewhere along the way, The company he built on principles of hard work and opportunity had become a machine that crushed exactly the kind of talent and ambition he'd wanted to reward. Alex didn't sleep that night. He paced his office until dawn, Marcus's story replaying in his mind alongside the damning evidence of corporate failures he'd uncovered. By 6 a.m., he made his decision. This wasn't just about Marcus anymore. This was about fundamentally transforming how Carter's Quick Bite treated its workforce. He called an emergency board meeting for that afternoon. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alex began, standing at the head of the mahogany conference table as the 7 board members settled into their seats. "I'm calling a complete review of our Employee Education Assistance Program, effective immediately." Harold Morrison from Finance looked up sharply. "Alex, with respect, that program is working exactly as designed. We're maintaining fiscal responsibility while systematically destroying the lives of our best employees." Alex cut him off, his voice steel. "Harold, in the past 3 years, we've rejected 97% of education assistance applications." 97%. The room fell silent. Alex clicked open his laptop and projected the statistics onto the conference room screen. "Janet," he turned to the legal representative, "your own niece Jennifer received approval for a hospitality program that costs $43,000 per year. Meanwhile, we rejected an employee with perfect performance reviews who was accepted to Stanford with a full academic scholarship. He only needed $15,000 for living expenses." Janet Walsh shifted uncomfortably. "We have to maintain standards." "Standards?" Alex's voice rose. "Let me tell you about standards. This employee I'm talking about has revolutionized efficiency at his location, solved complex operational problems that our consultants couldn't figure out, and teaches advanced concepts to his co-workers in his spare time. His name is Marcus Thompson, and for 3 years, he's been working 60-hour weeks trying to save money for college while we've rejected his applications on bureaucratic technicalities." Board member Susan Chen, the VP of Operations, frowned. "Which location is this? I should know about any employee making operational improvements." "The Maple Street location. And you don't know about him because we've created a system that ensures talent remains invisible." Alex pulled up Marcus's applications on the screen. "Look at these rejection reasons. Computer science not aligned with core business objectives. Does anyone in this room honestly believe that computer science isn't relevant to a company that relies entirely on digital systems?" The board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Alex pressed on. "Patricia, my own assistant, has been sitting on this educational advisory board making decisions about employee futures without any educational background herself. She told me she just follows Harold's lead and approves applications from employees whose families work for the company." Morrison's face reddened. "Now wait just a minute, Alex. We're running a business here, not a charity. We can't afford to invest in employees who'll leave the moment they graduate. Harold, this employee I'm talking about has already stayed with us for 3 years while deferring Stanford admission. 3 years. He's shown more loyalty to this company than most of our managers." Alex's passion was building. "And you know what? Even if he did leave after graduation, how is that different from what we expect? We want our people to grow and succeed, don't we?" VP of Marketing David Rodriguez spoke up quietly. "Alex, what exactly are you proposing?" Alex took a deep breath. "Complete overhaul. First, we dissolve this so-called Educational Advisory Board and create a transparent review process based on merit, not connections. Second, we expand the approved fields of study to include any accredited degree program. Third, we eliminate the arbitrary GPA requirements and focus on work performance and potential instead. The costs," Morrison began, "will be a fraction of what we spend on executive bonuses each year." Alex snapped. "Harold, your bonus alone last year could have funded education assistance for 50 employees." The room was dead quiet. Alex could see the shock on their faces. They'd never seen him this passionate about anything involving employees. "But more importantly," Alex continued, his voice softer but more intense, "I've realized something. We've been so focused on protecting our investment that we've forgotten what made this company successful in the first place. It wasn't fancy marketing or corporate strategy, it was people. People who cared about the work, who had ideas, who wanted to build something better. Susan Chen nodded slowly. You're talking about cultural change, not just policy change. Exactly. We've created a culture where our brightest employees feel invisible and undervalued. How many Marcus Thompsons are working in our restaurants right now? Brilliant people whose potential we're wasting because we're too concerned with controlling costs and maintaining hierarchy? Alex looked around the table at faces that ranged from thoughtful to resistant. I'm not asking for your permission on this, he said finally. I'm informing you of a decision I've already made. The only question is whether you want to be part of the solution or part of the problem we're leaving behind. 2 weeks later, Alex found himself back in the beat-up Honda Civic, heart pounding with nervous excitement as he pulled into the Maple Street drive-thru. This time, however, he carried an envelope that would change Marcus's life forever. The new Education Assistance Program had been fast-tracked through implementation. Alex had personally overseen every detail, ensuring that the application process was streamlined, fair, and focused on potential rather than drama. The Educational Advisory Board had been dissolved, replaced by a diverse committee that included actual educators, successful program graduates, and rotating employee representatives. More importantly, Alex had established an emergency fund for exceptional cases, employees who showed outstanding merit and faced immediate opportunities that couldn't wait for the normal application cycle. Marcus's voice came through the speaker with its usual enthusiasm. Good morning! Welcome to Carter's Quick Bite! How can I make your day better? Hey Marcus, it's Mike, Alex said, trying to keep his voice steady. Can I talk to you for a minute when you get a chance? Of course. Let me just finish up with this customer and I'll meet you at the window. When Alex pulled up, Marcus's smile was as genuine as ever, but Alex could see the exhaustion around his eyes. 3 years of 60-hour weeks were taking their toll. Mike, good to see you again. You know, I've been thinking about our conversation the other day, about not giving up on dreams. I actually just submitted my application to defer Stanford for a 4th time. I'm probably setting some kind of record they don't want to set. Marcus laughed, but there was pain beneath it. Alex's throat tightened. Marcus, what if I told you that you might not need to defer anymore? Marcus's expression grew curious. What do you mean? Alex handed him the envelope. A friend of mine works in corporate HR for Carter's Quick Bite. She heard about your situation and asked me to give this to you. Marcus opened the envelope with trembling hands. As he read the letter, his face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, and finally, overwhelming joy. This says I've been approved for full education assistance. Not just tuition help, but living expenses, books, everything. Marcus looked up at Alex with tears in his eyes. But I don't understand. I was rejected 3 times. The company recently overhauled their entire education program. Alex explained, fighting back his own emotions. They realized they were missing out on incredible talent because of bureaucratic nonsense. You were one of the first people they wanted to help under the new system. Marcus sat down heavily on a nearby stool, the letter shaking in his hands. I can't believe this. I was starting to think it would never happen. My grandmother kept telling me to have faith, but after 3 rejections, his voice broke. Marcus, you deserve this. You've earned it through 3 years of dedication, intelligence, and persistence that most people couldn't imagine. I start at Stanford in the fall, Marcus whispered, as if saying it aloud might make it disappear. I'm actually going to Stanford. Over the next few months, Alex continued his undercover visits, not just to the Maple Street location but to restaurants across the chain. He wanted to ensure the new policies were being implemented fairly and to discover other talented employees who might have been overlooked. What he found amazed him. There was Maria at the downtown location, a brilliant artist who wanted to study graphic design and had revolutionary ideas for the company's marketing materials. James in the suburbs was a natural leader studying for his teaching certificate, who had already improved team morale and training efficiency at his store. Sarah, the young woman Marcus had helped with inventory, turned out to have a gift for data analysis and was accepted to a top business school. Each success story reinforced what Alex had learned from Marcus. His company wasn't just a collection of restaurants, it was a community of people with dreams, talents, and potential that far exceeded their current roles. 6 months later, Alex received a text message that made him smile. "Professor gave me an A+ on my first computer science project. I included a note about how I learned problem-solving skills at my previous job. Thank you for believing in me, Mike." Marcus. Alex never revealed his true identity to Marcus, but he didn't need to. The important thing wasn't the recognition, it was the transformation. Marcus was thriving at Stanford, studying artificial intelligence, and already talking about returning to help other businesses optimize their operations. As Alex sat in his office that evening, looking out at the city lights, he reflected on how dramatically his understanding of leadership had changed. For years, he'd focused on managing numbers, controlling costs, and maximizing efficiency. He'd thought success meant maintaining order and predictability. But Marcus had taught him something profound. True leadership wasn't about managing people, it was about lifting them up. It wasn't about controlling outcomes, it was about creating opportunities. The most successful companies weren't those that squeezed the most productivity from their workers, but those that unleashed the potential that workers brought with them. Small actions, Alex realized, could create ripple effects far beyond what anyone imagined. One undercover visit had led to one conversation, which had led to one policy change, which had transformed dozens of lives and fundamentally altered the culture of his entire company. Carter's Quick Bite was no longer just a fast food chain. It had become what Alex had originally dreamed it could be, a place where hard work and talent were rewarded, where people could build their futures while contributing to something larger than themselves. And it had all started with a young man solving puzzles on his lunch break, waiting for someone to notice his brilliance.